The Solana ETFs broke records. We're going to talk about it, but it didn't lead to price action. Why am I bringing this up? Because XRP's got an ETF in the queue, and if Congress stays closed, well, guess what? That thing will get approved. We've got a major denial for crypto. That's right. We've talked about those banking applications, right? Well, one of ours got rejected in a 2-to-1 vote. We're going to talk price action, Garlinghouse, along with...
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
That's right, Custodia Bank was denied. What does this mean for Ripple's banking application? Now, before we get into that, I do your comments. Why? Well, because you're the viewer. And if it wasn't for you, I'd just be babbling to my screen. I'm still babbling to my screen, but at least people type me back in the comments. John Michael says, you're the only one not peddling unrealistic expectations. Oh, you mean like the $35,000 XRP price prediction? Yeah, I saw that shit this morning. What the fuck is that? Come on now. We're all way more mature than that BS. This is the only crypto news I pay attention to, so feel free to release it whenever it suits you. Speaking of releasing it, Minidog's hanging out that says, I like the late videos, man. Makes the time go by during my last 2 hours at work. I think that's actually a cool thing. I might keep doing those late videos. I started doing them in the WADA, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, people like this. Shane dropping some support on the channel. Thank you so much, Shane. Shane says, good morning. Happy Saturday. I need to get away for a day. Drove down to the hunting lease last night. Oh, am I so jealous. South Carolina, shitty hunting. Our deer are the size of dogs. I grew up in the Midwest, upper Midwest. We had big deer out there. We had great pheasant hunting. South Carolina, no. Had to run to the store and get my news. Good, bad, happy, or sad. Thanks for keeping me updated. Klaus, you're the man. Thank you, Shane, for your support, and thank you for the positive comments. The Amazing World PC, hope your injury is fully recovered. Sciatica, yeah, I remember. Because October sucked more than the wife did in a year. Thanks for the news. Love the channel. Yeah, for real. I think we had a lot more suckage in crypto than we ever got from our significant others all year long. Because there was a lot of October suckage in crypto. Bitcoin, 110,258. ETH is 3847. XRP at 251. While BNB is at 1,082, not 10,000. Whoa, we're not talking XRP by Friday, all right? Sol's at 184, while ADA's under 60. Is ADA a deal under 60 cents, or do you stay away from everything, Charles? hbar fans, you're at 19.2, erasing the gains, the majority of them, from the ETF, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What's the point of an ETF if it doesn't bring in native token price action? Altcoin season? Nah, we'd rather say it's Bitcoin season right now. Why? Because it's 30 out of 100, so no, it's not altcoin season. Check it out. These cryptos right here on the screen are the only ones beating BTC over the last 90 days. The majority of the market is fairly heavy in the red. HBAR down 23%, XLM down 26%. So we got a lot of our favorites here not doing so hot. Now, what's going on in the markets? Well, we had 3 days outflows. That's not good. That's institutional investments in crypto being a little bit shaky. But we also see what? Massive records when it comes to the Solana ETF. And remember, there's a staking ETF. So for people that want to park and earn, I like that. They would like that. That's why they're getting into it. Bitwise, the Solana ETF draws record inflows in the first trading week. On November 1st, Bloomberg ETF analyst Eric Balchunas reported that BSOL, love it, attracted roughly $417 million in its first week of trading. That's not bad for like a Solana staking ETF. That performance placed the fund in the top 20 across ETFs in all asset groups. So a SOL staking ETF gets them into the top 20 when it comes to volume. For context, BSOL's inflow were nearly 10 times larger than the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF, which brought in $56 million. Grayscale's Ethereum fund, it's a big one, only brought in $56 million as well. In contrast, IBIT Blackhawks one, typically the market leader in inflows, faced what? Outflows, $250 million. I showed you that. We've been talking about it during the week, so you weren't caught off guard where you know you weren't. Because you've been following. You've been hitting that notification bell so you get the news super fast. The fund's early success highlights how institutional investors are expanding their exposure beyond BTC and Ethereum. I like that. I like that idea. I think that more regulated products we get, the more people are going to want to jump into them. The problem is, that's your fucking price chart for SOL. Does that anywhere tell you that ETF record volume is juicy AF for native token? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And if you see juiciness on this chart, you better get your damn eyes checked. I know a few optometrists. I know a few ophthalmologists. I know a retinologist if you fucking need one, if you're that blind. For real. The SOL ETFs haven't done jack shit. What's weird, though, is yes, the hbar ETFs did give hbar some news. What's the problem with that? Well, let's look it up real quick. Why? Well, because it's relevant. Hot, spicy, and relevant. So let's put hbar in. Let's open that up in a new window, and we're going to look at it. Here's the problem with the hbar ETFs. Meh, pumperoni. Yeah, I brought you the news while on vacation, and then what? Yeah. Kind of leveling off a little bit. Zoom out to the 1 month, you can see, well, is it that massive? We're still below where we were before the poop crash. Yeah. So the ETFs have been somewhat mixed bag. hbar getting some pump out of it. Didn't hold most of its pump. It's eroded about 50% of its gains. SOL ain't getting jack shit out of it, even though they're breaking records. Now, I have a feeling that the XRP one is going to be juicier. Why? I think you got a lot more support. I think you got a lot more retail support for XRP, and I think you got a lot more institutional support for XRP. The Canary Capital one will be auto-approved on the 13th of November. That's 11 days away if the government doesn't reopen and the SEC doesn't fill out their response in time. That sounds pretty good. Now, Ripple's CEO, XP Insight, resurfaces ETF optimism source. Yes. Ripple's CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, insights on XP have emerged as XRP ETF optimism source. Just in the week concluded, updated S1 filings, and that's what's happening now. They're updating their S1s and putting in clauses in there that say, yo, if in 20 days you don't respond, it's automatic approval. See, you got to have stuff done in a timely manner. So these players out here are using the government shutdown to their advantage. And I like that. Why? Because then you could get delayed inevitably. And we don't want that. No, we want things to happen. According to expectations, the Canary XP ETF might potentially launch November 13th, assuming a green light in its 8A filing. Bitwise's XRP ETF shorter language might allow it to launch in the next 20 days. I like that. And with the Solana ETF having good numbers, these players are want to get into it. Now, no, this has nothing to do with Ripple. Ripple does not launch these ETFs. These are done by these financial issuers like Bitwise, VanEck, Canary, Grayscale, all that, okay? So they see that Solana, that ETF is making money, so they're going to want to get in, they're going to want to launch more. There's 20 XRP ETFs in the queue. Now, Eleanor Tourette's bringing us some rockin' news because we have a crypto bank that got shut down, girlfriend. Remember, Ripple is applying for one of those bank licenses. Breaking, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled in the Custodia versus Federal Reserve case. In a 2-1 decision, the court sided with the Fed, rejecting Custodia's bid to compel the central bank giant to a master account. What? Yeah. Oh, and look, fake Brad Garlinghouse scam. Family AI stuff, so be careful. Oh, even Eleanor Tourette's said this is the worst AI rendering shit she's ever seen. Oh. But think about that. Now, right, the Court of Appeals comes in for the 10th Circuit, so it is the Circuit Court of Appeals that said that correctly, is now saying, no, Custodia Bank, you don't get that master account. What's going on? They talked about maybe giving the crypto a skinny master account. So some of the master perks, but a toned down version of it. That came from the Fed themselves. And this is everyone? This is the case against the Fed. Custodia Bank versus the Fed. So now you've got the courts holding it up saying, no, we're not ready for those crypto banks yet. Messed up, isn't it? Now Brad Garlinghouse is going to be on stage with a couple bigs. Check out this panel. You tell me this isn't freaking cool. You ready? Listen to this. Blockchain Week. Binance Blockchain Week, Dubai 2025. December 3rd or 4th. It's about a month away, okay? See, I bring you the news now. I bring you news in the future. And what else do you expect? I like it. See, I'm doing really good here. Look at this. One fucking stage. You got Saylor, Garlinghouse, CZ, and Raoul Paul. That's a freaking panel. That is freaking good. On one stage, you got these peeps. That is fucking awesome. Now, will Brad Garlinghouse be able to throw it at the Sailor Dog? It's possible. Get them two on the same stage? I think he could do it. But then again, we heard in the past that Ripple was like, oh, we should work good with the BTC people so we kind of get some of that money. And I get it, but at the same time, you got to start leaning on your own dogs. And our dogs are very strong, right? The retail market, the institutional market for XRP is there. I think we just need the regs. I think that's what's holding us back. Now, overall in the crypto market, volume low, under $100 billion right now at $97 billion, down 20% in the last 24 hours. So like I told you, we were expecting low volume. Now for XP, I said, look, we're going to get volume numbers between the 2 to 3 billion sometime this weekend. XRP's volume, 2.19. Told you. It's just, we're getting now into this pattern where the market is like, okay, if government shutdown is extended, if the Fed isn't going to have a rate cut decision until December, that's right, there's no meeting this November, right? So the market's like, okay, so we got some time. So CPI data, probably not going to happen because of government shutdown. You don't have the people to run the reports and the people actually in the cities gathering the data. So you don't have big data coming out this month. You also don't have a big decision this month. So what do we start looking at? We start looking at like job reports and housing. And then you're like, oh shit, the government does that too. So those reports are going to be messed up most likely. So November is kind of going to be a shit month. Shit month not in terms of it being bad, but we don't get the big, juicy reports that we all like, right? That the globe watches. So now we're going to be succumbed to what? Macros and relevant news. So if the United States and China deal goes south again, well, it's going to make the market a poop sandwich. If all of a sudden Congress is like, yo, we think we got the votes to reopen, the market is going to turn around and be green girlfriend. So a lot of things can affect the market right now, but it's going to be things that we can't predict. See, we know when CPI data is. We know when Jerome Powell and the Fed's next meeting are, right? We know those things so we can get prepared for them. We can be like, all right, cool, we can advance. I'm going to start saving money, blah, blah, blah. You get that. But right now, we don't know. We don't know when Congress is going to come back. We don't know what other kind of juicy stuff is going to happen because these are all things that are off the calendar and happen as they do. So hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out because I'm going to keep bringing news because that's right, it's Sunday morning and I'm still bringing you the news. Who else is doing that? I brought you news while I was in Guatemala. I've gone to Guatemala 3 times this year. I might even sneak in a fucking 4th trip. And you know what? I'll bring you the news then too. Choo-choo what? Shh, we ain't at the end yet. And that's the thing about the month of November, right? All this stuff that we want to pay attention to is not on the calendar for a specific date. Do we know when we're going to hear back from Ripple's banking charter? No, because the people that approve it are freaking done with the shutdown. Do we know what CPI data is going to look like? No, because they said, well, this is going to be like the first time we've never had CPI data because the people are shut down to do it. What about the FOMC meeting? Again, that's not happening in November. That's happening in December. So we got a big gap where right now crypto is vulnerable. Vulnerable to both good and bad news around the globe. So if the United States and China tariff thing gets worse and you're like, no, I'm going to throw 100% tariff on you. And they're like, no, we're going to throw 110%. And he's like 120 and he's like 130. And they're like at a fucking auction, but they're at an auction with our money. All of a sudden we're like, oh, that could make the market go poopy. Now all of a sudden though, we're sitting here and I report to you a story, something along the lines of, yo, 6 Democrats now are going to be voting with the Republicans at the end of shutdown. Whoa, markets are going to roar because then we can start talking about things again. But again, none of this is on the calendar. So we're in a weird spot right now. You got to have money ready to buy. You also got to have some of those pre-orders ready if you want to capture some of that juicy sale action if we pump. Because we've seen it when the exchanges are roaring, not like right now because I shared with you the volume, but that's why I bring up the volume. When the volume's super low right now, you don't have a problem accessing your money unless you're on Coinbase. Coinbase, you suck balls. But you don't have a problem. But then all of a sudden, we get government shutdown thawage news. Yeah, what do you think's going to happen? Volume's going to freaking roar. So if you want to capitalize on juicy action, maybe you put those pre-orders in because the exchanges will be like all like busy. Like, oh, we got too much shit going on. We're bitch stewies. Yeah. See, it's not just news. I bring you some strats and some looking forward because I've been doing this for a while. I've been in this space for what? Almost 6 years now on YouTube. 2 years before that, I've been into crypto. So I've been around this stuff for a while and I'm still learning. But what I've learned is this. When you don't have the economic indicators, crypto is heavily vulnerable to macros and global news events. The slightest thing like an Elon and Trump spat can send the markets down. All of a sudden you get a little bit of Middle East, a little bit of Israel action flare up. Fuck, crypto market poops itself. Now look, we get the good stuff, right? We get a couple Democrats giving us quotes. Hold on, let me be a Democrat real quick and be like, we have decided to break the shutdown in order to move things forward. You get some people saying stuff like that. This is my to-do list. But you get people saying shit like that. Yo, the market will go major green. So instead of me having one light in the background that's green, I'll have 2 lights in the background that have green. And then I'll have to wear a green t-shirt. And then I'll have to do what? Well, I mean, I have to do it anyways. Because at the end of every video, it's choo-choo bitches.